sending things out to start? No. They'll just come to my face, yeah? Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon from Cambridge, UK. We're all very grateful to the Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority for making this initiative a reality. My name is Rita Al Minyawi, and I will be talking to you about parenting on the NICU in a pandemic. So a little bit about myself. I'm Rita. I'm a trainer in the NBAS and the NBO. The NBAS is the Newborn Behavioral Assessment Scale. The NBO is the Newborn Behavioral Observation. These are tools that were developed by Dr. Berry Brazelton and Professor Kevin Nugent in Boston, USA. And are used across the world now. The NBAS and the NBO look at babies in a slightly different way from the traditional medical approach. So we learn to look, we now see the baby with so much richness by understanding their behavior. And we work together with families to help them understand their baby's behavior and how to respond to them. I've worked on the NICU with families for over 25 years between Abu Dhabi, Corniche Hospital, and Cambridge University Hospitals at the Rosie. I'm now based in Cambridge, UK, and have a very long history with the UAE and Abu Dhabi. I arrived in the UAE on the UAE National Day many, many years ago, a young bride, and left many years later with grown-up children. I took a little bit of the UAE with me because my son who traveled with me has been named after Sheikh Zayed. Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the first ruler of Abu Dhabi. So he's always present, Zayed, in our family. The UAE will always have a very special place in my heart. That is where I learned about the NBAS and the NBO, well, the NBAS at that point, and traveled from there and began my life's work using the Brazelton way with families across the world. And I'm very happy today to be here with you today, alhamdulillah. So I'm going to talk to you about parenting in a pandemic. There will be an opportunity to ask questions. You can, during the presentation, you can put your questions into the chat box. And after the presentations, if you wish to speak live, then there'll be an opportunity to do that as well. Thank you. I'm now going to start the presentation, which is that. Yes. Okay. I hope you're all able to see that. So we're talking about parenting in a pandemic. Parenting on NICU is a challenge within itself. In a pandemic, it's a challenge which is even greater. But we'll start with the elephant in the room, which is the COVID-19. You and your baby with COVID-19. Good news. I'm going to say, what good news with COVID? Being positive, a vaccine will be here soon. You and your baby are very fortunate to be cared for in the UAE with the best medical resources and government support. Your baby is in a safe place. The UAE government is amongst the leaders in the world in managing the COVID pandemic. Research shows that breastfeeding and breast milk is safe for your baby. The plus side is that your babies will be going down to a much cleaner world. Cities and towns across the world are cleaner than any time in history. Disinfection, enhanced cleaning, wiping and mopping across the world. And one day, life will go back to normal. One day, inshallah. For yourself, what do you do? Stay safe, wearing a mask, washing hands, social distancing. We all know that across the world. Every neonatal unit across the world will be following guidelines, whether they're set by the country, but they will all follow approximately the same guidelines, and they set there to keep you and your baby safe. So the purpose of this is not to change your perception of what you can and cannot do. Follow your unit, and that will keep you both safe. Masks and bonding. So many people worry that their baby might not know who they are because they're wearing masks all the time, just like the nurses. However, your baby will know your voice, your touch, and your smell. They will feel your love. They'll feel your touch, your smile, and hear your hello. There are masks that have now been produced, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with them yet, where you are able to see the mouth and the smile. And some centers, some neonatal units are now starting to order those for parents. So what is it like being NICU parents in a pandemic? Most parents starting, what do you expect? Do you expect to have a healthy term baby going home? It's happy. What happens is like an explosion. Whether your baby's in NICU for a long time, small, big, sick, or for a short time, it's not what you expected. Everything is strange, everything is scary and new. And within the pandemic, even more, because you've got people wearing hazmat suits and masks, and it's all frightening. Most parents will say they're more wise than him. I think when you're dreaming of having your baby, very few people dream of that incubator with monitors. But we need to remember that although there's more wires, or looks like there's more wires in your baby, it is your baby still. And you are your primary caregiver. Nobody can fill your role. So when you find yourself on the baby in the unit in the middle of a pandemic, there's no words to sum up what you feel like. We who don't have babies in the unit are afraid, we're stressed, and really first broke. And then you learn to live with the situation as it is. And you, as parents on NICU, will go through probably much the same. You have that extra layer of the COVID, so definitely carrying a lot more than we do. The fact that you'll be stressed, you'll be scared, helpless, angry, confused, you might feel guilty, overwhelmed, you're exhausted. And these are normal feelings for any parent to have in your situation. You're not alone. Across the world, families feel exactly the same. We've just looked at the survey of parents and at the Rosie Hospital in Cambridge, and their responses, as yours in the pre-survey, are pretty much the same. That's what they feel like. So while the hospital staff is there providing your baby with important medical care, only you can give your baby a parent, and that's you. So we'll start positively. Big journeys begin with tiny little steps. That picture on that side shows twins who were born at the Rosie Hospital in Cambridge University Hospitals. That was at a reunion function a couple of years ago. They were carrying pictures of when they were very tiny in incubators, and that's them big. So while the young man is wearing his Olympic medals from the Special Olympics, and his sister, they've all just go on and achieve incredible things. So there's always hope. You are not where you hope to be. You are where you are. You're just starting the journey to being a parent to this baby at a different stage in a different place. And I call you the NICU warriors, parents and babies. Very strong. And this is a nice quote from the Bliss Baby Charity. You never know how strong you are until strong is all you can be. And I have the utmost admiration for the NICU parents that go through so much. And most of you will come out at the end, the vast majority triumphant and happy. So what can you do? Keeping positive. Let go what is out of your control. Take control of what you're able to. I cannot control COVID, neither can you. We cannot control the fact that your baby needs to be in the NICU. We're grateful that your baby is in a safe place. But what can you do? So we look at the things that you can do, and that helps you to feel that you have control over some things. Take each moment one step at a time, one day at a time. Don't feel guilty. You've not done anything wrong. Approximately 10% of babies born across the world will go to NICU or SCBU for a short or a long time. Letting out your sadness and worry is important. Don't suppress it and keep it all in if you can. Don't feel guilty if you feel like you're going to pieces. Crying is okay. It's ways that we cope. It also helps to talk about your feelings to somebody that you trust. A lot of centers use the word roller coaster journey. What does that mean? Roller coaster is a fun ride. Roller coaster on NICU, I wouldn't say it's fun, but you have good days and you've got difficult days. There's days that you celebrate and there's days that you feel like you're right back to where you started. All I'll say to you is hold on, it will get better. You are and always will be the most important person in your baby's life. No one else will have that capacity to love your baby as much as you do, as they will love and trust you too. So remember that your role in your baby's life is very special and unique. And I love the saying from Christopher Robin to Winnie the Pooh, even in fantasy, you're braver than you believe, smarter than you seem, and stronger than you think. So I wish you to keep that strength. What can you do? Again, let's say take care of yourself. Why? For yourself too, and for your baby. Your baby will benefit when you are rested, when you feel healthy, when you're not overly stressed. So you get as much sleep as possible. You eat healthy, regular meals, drink more water, exercise, and then practice deep breathing, mindfulness. Do things that make you feel calm, that you calm down within yourself, whether it's doing dhikr if you're Muslim, and beads, praying, walking, focusing on something that calms you down. Go for a walk outside if possible, keeping your social distance, of course. Warm bath or shower, listening to calming prayers, music, reading a favorite book if you can concentrate for that long. But write in your journal. Writing in a journal, I think, can be very helpful to put out what you might not be able to say to anyone. Write in a journal about your baby. Make time for your hobbies. Maybe make something for your baby. Maybe you learn how to knit something or create an art piece, something that will connect you with the baby when you can't be there. And if you can connect virtually with a friend or another NICU parent who's going through the same thing, a lot of NICU parents will say nobody understands what we're going through, and that is more or less true. When you have somebody who's been there and stood in your shoes or going through what you're going through, it's much easier to connect and know that they understand you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Accept help from family and friends. Talk to your family and friends about what you're going through. And then avoiding information overload. So keep in touch with the unit about your baby's progress. Get the updates from the doctors and nurses so that you're well informed about your baby and feel confident that you're part of the decision making about what happens to your baby. Talking to other parents with babies on the unit going through the same experience might not be as easy now because you may not have a place where you can congregate, but there are opportunities to talk to people, and if you can and you connect with somebody, then it's quite useful doing that. Cut down on watching news. That really adds to stress levels. And Dr. Google. Now, I was going through the internet looking to see if there was anything new and looking for parents' websites to see what these sites tell you on the internet. And it's fast. I think your children will be graduating before you finish going through the volume of information that's on the internet. So I would say use recommended expert sites online for information and parent support. This is not a time where you need to do a degree in prematurity and neonatology. So a lot of the excessive medically oriented sites actually just add on to your stress levels. And it's enough that you just be a parent. Love your baby. Know that you're not alone. Ask for help if you have difficulty coping. People are having difficulty coping just with COVID, let alone having a baby in a hospital and COVID going on around the world. So finding difficulties, mental health we speak about, not as a disease that you hide, but feelings that you go through. And if you need help with those, then look for help. Talk to your doctors, talk to the staff on your unit. Reading through the UAE papers, a national hotline has been set up in the UAE to help people with anxiety, stress issues over this COVID time. That's the number 800-4673. I think if you could probably find that quite easily. So what can you do for your baby on NICU or Skaboom? You and your baby have a special bond. It gives that baby a sense of security. This bond and attachment will continue to grow, even if you have to be apart sometimes. Remember and record the precious moments you're able to spend with your baby. You'll have a story to tell your baby about the first time you did this, the first time this happened. Try your best to be calm and relaxed when you're with your baby, and your baby will feel safe too. I often speak to the parents that I've worked with and said, put yourself in your baby's shoes. As difficult as it is for you as parents to be calm and relaxed, there's COVID, I've got a sick baby, maybe things are not going so well that day. Put yourself in your baby's shoes. Picture yourself as a little girl. War's broken out. And your mother's running around screaming, pack this bag, take that bag, and she's afraid and she's panicking. How would you feel? And there you are, that little girl again, in the very same war situation. And you have to leave. And your mother holds you close and say, we'll be fine. You'll be okay. How do you feel then? So as difficult as it might be, when you get your baby, try and have that sense, you'll be fine. I'm here taking care of you. Okay, so that's your part. So what do we know about newborn babies? We know they have a sense of taste. And they definitely like breast milk. We know they've got a good sense of smell. They don't like strong smells or turn away from that. They love their parents' smell. We know that they have a good sense of touch. And they love nice, comforting touch. And that the hearing senses are very well developed from long before they're born. I heard once, many years ago in the UAE, that a lot of families felt that the babies could only hear when they're about 6 months old. But I think when you look at your baby and talk to your baby and you see the baby turning to you, you'll realize that they do hear very early. They will remember a lot of the sounds that they had before they were born. It might be a muffled sound, but the hearing is very well developed. And seeing, again, that's something that it's not just the UAE, around the world. People, they go, no, newborn babies don't see. They see after they're 6 weeks. But the baby will be able to visualize your face, the central part of your face, your eyes, nose, mouth. And as long as it's a safe distance, they have that vision. The peripheral vision, the vision around them and beside them and up, will come later. So knowing what we know, what the babies do, what's the most powerful thing is talking to your baby. They will know you. And as Dr. Nugent says, you think of the womb as a place of silence and external sounds, but external sounds do reach the unborn baby. Music, for instance, high-pitched sing-song of a mother's voice. Some people noted that they had a dog in their home and that dog barked and barked a lot. And when the baby was born, the baby didn't seem to be disturbed by that dog's barking. It could be that the baby was familiar with the sound of that dog's barking, so it could tune out. It could say, I know you. I don't need to react to you. So talking and reading to your baby. A lot of parents might say, what do I read to them? If you don't feel comfortable reading children's books, read whatever makes you happy, whatever you feel comfortable with. It could be a newspaper. It could be a story on the phone. It could be a book that you're reading. It could be the Quran, it could be your prayers, but it's your voice that's important. The content is less important than hearing your voice. So touching and holding your baby, we know that when you touch the baby, there's positive hormones that are released both for you and for your baby. But what kind of touch are we talking about? Positive touch. What does positive touch mean? It means containment. As you'll see with that picture, there's the baby being cupped, head and the bottom. It's a still touch. It's not a stroking touch, and calm. So when we say there's a lot of stroking, particularly with sick babies, I'm talking about sick babies, premature babies, we wouldn't encourage stroking because their nerve endings are quite sensitive, and they can be quite sensitive to stroking, and patting, heavy patting might be too overwhelming for them. So you just put your hands firm and still on your baby's head, cupped, almost like you're getting him back as though he's back in the womb. If you want to try it out with your husband or your kids, try stroking their hand continuously. After a while, it becomes a little bit irritating. And then try just putting your hand softly, firmly on that hand and see which one you prefer. Cuddles, if your baby's well enough to come out, you'll be guided by the unit staff, the doctors, the nurses, and how your baby's doing, what you can do. And when your baby's not able to come out, he may be sick, he may be on the ventilator, you can still touch him. You can still get these little fingers to hold your hand. And then skin to skin, we are progressing. So skin to skin kangaroo care, and reading through your pre-survey questionnaire, it looks like you're doing amazingly well in the Emirates, because 85% or 87%, I think, are experiencing kangaroo care, skin to skin care. And that's absolutely fantastic. And we know all the benefits of kangaroo care and skin to skin. So this is something that breast milk, it's the best milk that only you can give your baby. The best doctors, the nurses, the machines in the world will never, ever be able to give your baby your breast milk. They call it liquid gold. And in the UK, certainly, the units buy donated breast milk. I know that doesn't happen in the Middle East, but it's pretty expensive. So for you, while you're there, I've worked in the UAE, and I know that the baby-friendly is incredibly well developed. It's been going on for many years, and you have lactation consultants in your hospitals. So meet with them to get the best help to keep your milk supply going throughout your stay in the hospital. And then consider and discuss with your baby's nurse about using your breast milk for your baby for mouth care. Babies love breast milk. It helps with future feeding too, because it gives them a good experience through their mouth. How do we do this? Talk to your nurse about it. They will clean the baby's mouth. And instead of using water, if you have a little cotton bud and dip it into your breast milk, which you've just expressed, just hold that bud on your baby's lips and watch. And it's the most beautiful sight to see. Even the tiniest, sickest babies stopping and pausing and feeling this is different. And then they lick it and they love it. And ideally, you should do it. You should be the first person to give your milk to your baby. It's very special when it happens. When your baby is able to breastfeed, and then that you're able to do, and I think you have a lot of support of that. So look at me, watch my cues, I'm talking to you. A lot of people coming into the unit look at a monitor. It draws us. We all look at this monitor. We look at the numbers. It doesn't do anything to help your stress levels. So maybe we should look at the baby. The baby you will learn to read your baby, understand him better than any machine. Watch for, observe, and learn the meaning of your baby's signals and cues, and you'll soon become familiar with what they're saying and get to know them very well. Being connected to your baby, you're helping your baby feel safe. You're helping your baby feel secure in a way no one else can. And when we say look at your baby at a safe distance, not to overwhelming, we have an old-fashioned measurement in inches. I'm sure you can convert it to centimeters of about 10 to 12. Try it out with somebody next to you. Come right up close to their face and think about how you feel. and then move back a little bit to within that space and then look at that person and how do you feel? Because if somebody comes straight up close and baby will feel exactly threatened, oh my God, what's that coming to my face? It also is really good. Whatever you do, whether you're touching your baby, getting ready to change a nappy, talk to your baby, tell him what's going to happen, and then it's less frightening and sudden. So understanding your baby's language. Dr. Berry Brazelton, Professor Kevin Nugent, Dr. Brazelton said, a baby's behavior is his language. You can trust that language. So right from birth, long before your baby speaks their first words, they're communicating with you through their behavior. The communication can be clear as a good long cry, good loud cry. Come to me, I need you. I need food, I need a nappy change, or I'm just angry. Or subtle, as a slight movement of the eyebrow, or little hand going up and the fingers spreading. It's like, this is too much for me. Or I'm sneezing, it's a little, something is bothering me. Think of all your baby's movements, expressions, and responses as phrases as that they use to communicate with you. The unspoken words of their first language. And why is it so important to understand your baby's behavior? Babies are born with billions of brain cells. They have more brain cells than they will need, but they cannot be used until they're connected. Being sensitive to your baby's signals, responding to their needs, enables your baby's brain synapses and connections to form. The more good experience a baby has, the more brain connections it forms. So developing a healthy relationship with your baby will also help with his or her brain development. Now, within the behavior, we talk about the baby state. What does it mean? How to recognize your baby state. How will help you to know how to respond to your baby at different times. So I put in a few pictures coming up, which will show different states of the baby. The smaller babies that are sicker, a little bit more difficult to read, but you will get to know your baby as you look at them. So the baby will say to you, if I could use words talking to you, this is what I would tell you. I have 3 sleep states and I have 3 awake states. When I'm in a deep sleep, my eyes are barely moving. I'm quiet. My tone is relaxed. I need to grow. This is when the weight is going to get on. Baby will get fatter. Weight will go up. Leave me to sleep because I need to grow. In light sleep, I might have a little flickering of eyelids and a little smile. What's happening? I'm still asleep. I look like I might be getting awake, but not yet. My brain is developing. Leave me to sleep. Okay, so I'm a little bit drowsy. What's going to happen? I could go back to sleep. I could wake up. Watch and wait. Look for feeding cues. If he's rooting around, looking like he's looking for food, it might be that. If I feed now, I'll feel better before I get really upset and start crying. So in my awake states, I'm awake and alert. I have bright eyes. I'm ready to play and talk to you. Again, keep your distance, roughly 8 to 12 10 to 12 inches, in a safe distance so I can focus on your face. If I look away for a few seconds, I might need a little break from looking and talking, but I can recover with little time and come back to you. I'm a bit fussy and complaining. Watch and wait a little bit. I may settle on my own, or I maybe start crying, and you'll know which way to go. When my hands are kept free, I can touch my face. I can comfort myself. Talk to me. Hold my hands to the middle of my chest to help me relax. Crying. Watch and wait for a few seconds and see if I need help or if I can help myself. Some babies are able to help themselves. They use their hands, they look at a light, they look at something, they hear your voice, and they're fine. If I've been fed and I don't need a nappy change and I'm still not happy, I need help with the next steps until I try the next steps until I reach the point I'm settled. Talk to me first. And keep talking while you put your hand on my tummy. Keep talking, bring my hands to my chest. A light swaddle, a light wrap with my hands free. If I still need help, pick me up and very gentle rocking. And all this time you're still talking, you're asking him what's going on, what's the matter? When we talk about rocking, Don't shake the baby. Please do not shake me. Remember how the baby moved in your tummy before he was born. It was a gentle rock, like a little elephant walking, and the baby's bouncing in there. So try and keep that rock gentle and keep talking to make me feel safe. So how do I know when my baby needs a break? All of us need a break at some point. We stop, we pause, we have strategies to help ourselves. How would you know when your baby needs a break? Even the tiniest babies are able to let you know. So when they're finding things a bit difficult, or they just need a bit of time out, or they need your help to relax, how do you recognize this? His color might change. It might go pale, might go quite red. Maybe he starts breathing a bit faster. Maybe he slows down. Maybe he starts spitting up, means like a regurgitation, little vomits, and not necessarily directly with the feed. This is during other interactions. My frown and grimace might hold their hands up. You can see these little characters there. That is what you call splayed fingers, splaying up the fingers, the hand stop sign, or shut their eyes and turn away. Doesn't mean baby doesn't like me, just needs, I need a little break. I need to pause. And they might sneeze and hiccup. Hiccup is hiccuping. Like, I don't know how to explain that to you. I think you will understand hiccuping. When you hear your baby sneezing, just pause, have a look and see. It might be a momentary thing and pass. If it's a baby who's been sick on NICU, but fragile, watch and see. That's just a signal that I need help with something. And how do you know when your baby's fine, ready to interact with you? They open their eyes, they calm, their tone is nice and relaxed, their color is nice and even. They may be looking around, they may be trying to focus on you. Pink color, or generally just a good color. Their breathing is relaxed. This time in the beginning might be only short, but as your baby grows, might last 10 minutes, 10 seconds, might last 15 seconds, might last 30 seconds. And as your baby gets older, stronger, bigger, you'll be able to talk and play with you for longer. Right, there we go. There's two pictures of two babies. Look at them and think, how do I feel? So he's like, I've had enough. He doesn't look like he's smiling. His eyes are looking away. He looks very pale and he's quite limp there. And I'm assuming it could be a girl. And this little lady, I think, with the red things, or could be a boy. Eyes are open. Yes, I'm tiny, but I'm looking at my mom or dad. I'm holding my mom's and dad's fingers. I've got this little smile. Everything is relaxed and there's no hand stop signals there. That's right. Okay, so right. Keeping in touch with your baby. We know you're not on the unit all the time. We know that the visiting restrictions have impacted greatly on parents across the world. And from the surveys that we've seen in Cambridge as well, that has been the singular most traumatic, distressing thing. That's what we can't change. Although a lot of units are relaxing visiting for parents as the fear of COVID has receded, or knowing how to manage COVID and how to manage it better. So they are allowing more visiting with parents. And I think that's probably been the most difficult thing for most. Looking at your pre-survey answers, it seems to be probably around about 75% feel that that's impacted greatly on them. So hopefully that will get better as we learn to live with what we have now. So this was the part where I felt that there probably wasn't as much, but 50-50 responses in terms of being able to see your baby while you're away, whether you're using WhatsApp, video calls, or FaceTime. The longer your baby's on the unit, I think you can maybe talk to your unit, if you've got any psychologists, if you've got any patient liaison support, on finding a way that you can see your baby when you're not there. Take pictures of your baby every time you visit so you can document this moment in time and monitor their progress. You can share these pictures with the family, people who love them. and use them to think about the baby when you're away from the hospital. A baby's journal or diary, you can find them on the internet. You can buy them easily. You can make your own scrapbook. You can keep your baby story there so that it's not about the bad news, the monitors, the things that make you joyful, the things maybe that have been difficult. You can document them all in there. That'll be something that you can look back later. Some places, and you could talk to your nurses, have a little diary when they can write about your baby's day. You can't be there all the time. And if they're able to write little things about when they were weighed and what happened, and if they needed cannulas put in, just how their day went and when they slept and how long they slept for. Most nurses would be happy to do that for you. Parents recording their voices, this you would need to clear with your unit and whatever protocols they follow. But and when it's appropriate for the baby, so that it's not constantly being stimulated by noise, is that when your baby's awake, maybe your voice is there in a recording, or with a story or with prayers. And there might be little Quranic recitations that some parents are happy. And I think if it can be placed into the baby's incubator, obviously depending on the unit, in a safe way, covered so it's clean, in a plastic bag and sterilized outside. That's another way that you could have some connection. I don't know what happens with the units where your baby is, but a lot of places you're able to speak to the nurse that's looking after your baby. So arrange with her the best time to call, so she can tell you daily how your baby's doing. You're not there. Again, this would be dependent on your unit. You could get, if you've got other children, get them to make drawings for the baby, bring a family picture, put it into one of those seal wrap plastic things that can be cleaned properly, and stick it on your baby's cot or incubator. Even though the baby's not looking at the picture, it gives your baby a story about his family, his sisters, his brothers. And it just reminds everybody looking after it who they're helping to take care of. So those are different things that you can do. I'm going to give you a very few sources for information because, as I said, you are overwhelmed with information. I couldn't believe the amount of information there was available online. These I would recommend. They have parent sources. If you have found something that you're happy with and you trust and you feel comfortable, stay with that. Bliss is a charity in the UK. It's for babies born premature or sick. That's the website, and is a beautiful. They will hold your hand from beginning to end. When I worked in the Corniche hospital many years ago, and we started our family-centered care, we did contact Bliss to see if we could use their mission statement for all babies born in the UK for all babies born in the United Arab Emirates, and they were very happy that we were using their literature. So you can find a lot of that online, geared towards you, the parent. Brazelton Centre UK, which is Understanding Newborn Behaviour, has entry point for parents and Twitter page and Facebook page where you can share with other parents, and trust me, what you feel, parents feel across the world, exactly the same. So that's the way to connect with parents on through that. March of Dimes is in America, one USA. They have an app called My NICU Baby, and they also are very good. And Dr. Brazelton had worked with them, I think, in the early beginnings. Brazelton Touchpoint Center, again, as your baby's growing and developing, has a parents page where you can join in and get a bit more information. Books I would recommend is Your Baby Speaking to by Kevin Nugent, when you want to see about your baby's behavior. Beautiful photographs with a lot of information would make a beautiful gift, and I think you'd find it very useful. And then there's Touchpoints, Birth to 3 by Jay Sparrow and Dr. Brazelton, which will take you from the time your baby's born. Dr. Brazelton had a great love of babies, great love and support of parents. Unfortunately, not with us any longer, but he's left his legacy. And there we go. And that was Dr. T Berry Brazelton. He passed a couple of months before he turned 100, which is very sad. We call ourselves the Brazelton family, and he was charismatic and taught us to look into the richness of the babies. This was his life's work. And I think he worked for up to months before he died. He was connected. This was the start of my dream for the UAE in 2007. I met Dr. Berry Brazelton at King's College, Cambridge University. We had just certified, as in passed our assessment in the NBAS, and we're going to receive our certificates, 2 doctors and 2 nurses. And we took him a gift from Abu Dhabi. In it was a sand picture, the 7 hands of the United Arab Emirates, and dates from Batil, date shop, which I'm sure you all know. In the bag, you can see the Arabic writing from Batil, was the card. And in that card, I said to him, I hoped that his way of working with families would spread to as many families in the Middle East and the UAE as there were grains of sand in his sand picture. And here we are today. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. And any questions? If you've got anything, you could put them into your chat box. And if you would like to ask me questions, I will try my best to answer. This was, just to finish that off, this was the NICU reunion. That's a special, I think I've heard that it continues. We started that in 2007 after I met Dr. Brazelton at the Corniche hospital, where families from the NICU gathered every year. And I think they continued it for many years after. I'm not sure if it continues now. And that was amongst the first ones. I think that was probably our second one. And all the families whose babies were on Skaboo come back to meet again once a year and celebrate progress. And for every baby that doesn't have a perfect outcome, there'll be an outcome which is happy, and the parents understand that baby and their support. And it's a joyful day. And that's why I call you the warriors. Thank you. Right. I'm going to go to the chat box. I don't see anything yet. And Q&A. Share screen. No, I don't share screen. Okay. Slide, come here, please. 6. I need to come out. Yeah, but there's nobody on. Let's to unmute. Others? Okay. Can you unmute, Kevin?
Yes, Rita.
Hello. I'm glad I found somebody.
That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Rita. It was just absolutely wonderful. And I just thought you understand the needs very much of the families in the neonatal intensive care unit, in particular,
Yes.
with your history at the UAE, you understand their needs too. I thought it might be interesting to hear a little bit about how you personally deal with fathers, because sometimes they're forgotten in the NICU. People forget the fathers are also there, and they often feel a little bit left out. Could you speak about that, Rita, please?
Yes. No, I think the fathers, my experience in the beginning, definitely fathers were on the periphery. When we started working using the Brazelton approach, the fathers were very much central. to the babies, very engaged. I think there was a sense that fathers picked up babies after 6 months. That's not true. They're very engaged right from the beginning. And I can remember certainly doing a certification with Emirati father present, and he was engaged throughout the Brazelton assessment. And when we finished, he said, "Why haven't you brought this here before?" So yes, they're very engaged. They were doing kangaroo care when I was there. There are cultural things that obviously you respect, like we had quiet times for kangaroo care. I'm not sure what happens currently, but in that time, it was the ladies. We had quiet time with the ladies, did kangaroo care with the fathers, with the babies, and no fathers would be allowed on the unit, and that's understandable. In terms of nappy care, changing, they need to be comfortable with that. But in terms of talking, touching, and being engaged, they definitely are there. So when I address the group, I'm addressing parents. Obviously, expressing the milk, that's not in the remit of the dad, but he can bring the milk or make his wife comfortable. And that's what I would say, is that help her to relax and, spoil her so she produces good milk for your baby. And most of the mothers love that approach. Does that cover enough, Kevin?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Rita. It's just so helpful. Thank you.
Mm. A lot of things that parents would sometimes ask was like, they're afraid to touch their babies in case they hurt them. And I try to reassure them that you wouldn't hurt them because you are already cautious and careful. But so that they don't sense your fear, is to talk to the baby before. And when I say try and keep calm, when you come into the unit, just take a deep breath. And it is scary. It's very scary not knowing what you're going to find, not knowing if your baby's having a good day, is having a bad day. Take a deep breath and talk to your baby before you touch them. If I came up to you, for example, and I grabbed your hand and put a needle in or just lifted your legs up and did your nappy, that would shock you. So I always ask the parents to put yourself in your baby's shoes. Stop for a moment and think, what would I like? When you think about the baby, culturally, again, another thing is hands-free. A lot of babies, and I know it's very common in the Middle East, and I'm not going to say that you have to stop what you do, because if that's what you feel is right for you and comfortable for you, then you continue to do that for your baby, because there's no one specific way that works for every baby across every single part of the world. There's ways that we do things in different countries, and they work. The main thing is that your babies are loved. And whether they are bound or whether they are let loose is academic. From a behavioral point of view, why I would say try and keep your baby's hands free is that we know that they use their hands to comfort themselves. And even though they might put their hands into their mouth, in our behavioral Brazelton world, we celebrate that. Look how great that baby is. Look, he can reach his mouth with his hands. He can help himself to calm down. And that's a big skill. That's a great skill for a baby to have, to be able to calm himself down. However, if my hands are tied up and bound up because I'm in a tight swaddle, then I lose that ability to help myself. And all I'm going to do is cry. I won't take the opportunity to reach my hands. I always ask parents to visualize the baby in the womb. They don't come kitted out with mittens. Nope. And their hands are not tied to the side. And if you look at a lot of the early in uterine fetal pictures of the babies in utero, a lot of babies you'll find they'll be touching their hands, touching their faces, or they'll rest their hand on a certain part of their bodies. And the interesting thing is when they're born, a lot of those babies that have a particular predilection to keep their hands on maybe one side of the face, or tilt their head that way, or put their hands somewhere, And I'll speak to the parents and ask them, and they'll say, yes, that's what it was like in utero. He always seemed to have his hand stuck on that side of the face, and that pattern of behavior will follow. So in terms of hands-free, I get very excited when I see baby able to use the hands and bring the hands to the mouth, or bring the hands, what we call, to the midline, which is to the middle of the chest, because all those things comfort and help your baby just to be organized, we call it in our language, just to get control and help themselves. And if you think about it, if you are in a slightly stressful situation, or you're getting really tired or overtired, what do you do instinctively? Your hands go there. You hold yourself, you cross your hands, you touch your face. You use your hands in so many ways to regulate your own behavior, and the babies use that as well. So that would be the argument that I would make for keeping your hands free. And maybe not using mittens, because you lose that touch between, the natural touch between the baby's skin and his hands, and the gloves get in the way. They don't always scratch themselves, and there are ways to keep the fingernails short. So I hope that answers that question. All right, what else can we talk about? We have, oh, Baloo the bear. So back to the hands. Put yourself in your baby's shoes. Just imagine that your hands are bound very close to you and your nose is itching. So just pause for a moment and think about, I'm standing, my nose is itching, I need to scratch it, but I can't get my hand to my nose. Do you think your stress levels will increase? I think so, right? So if your hands are free, you're able to do that immediately. You provide relief for yourself. So that's, I think, my last stand for keeping your baby's hands free safely. You can still swaddle them. You can still swaddle. Or if you find they prefer one hand, then leave that one hand free so they're able to reach out and touch their face. And when your babies are crying, one of the greatest tips I can give you is talk to them. Just bring the hand to the center of their chest and keep talking to them. And most of them will just open their eyes and say, okay, that helps. I hope you found that useful. Let's see if there's anyone. Okay. Feeding, I think within the UAE, definitely the feeding is so advanced in terms of breastfeeding, in terms of using breast milk, and in fact, in terms of your responses to the questions. So I think you're way ahead of many countries. Definitely, you're way ahead of, yeah. It's a lot better here, but I think that's pretty well established there. So the mouth care is very good. I'm not sure if they use it there, but that's one way for your baby to taste your milk. It's pleasant. Most babies that are in intensive care tend to have very negative things done to their mouths. They've got tubes put in, tubes taken out, painful procedures, ventilator tubings maybe, or maybe just not feeding immediately. So we look at giving the baby as much pleasure orally so that when they come to feed, they're not associating negative things with their mouth. And if you're able to talk to your nurse or your doctors and put that little bit of milk on a cotton bud and just hold it, don't rush, tell your baby what you're going to do. Make sure it's fresh, make sure it's accepted and it's safe. And hold that bud onto your baby's lips. And then just watch, wait, and wonder. And it's absolutely incredible to see how the smallest baby, I've seen babies under a kilo, maybe 25, 26 weeks gestation, but their sense of taste and sensitivity is so rich. They pause, see them pausing. They may be on breathing machines, but they pause and the little tongue comes out and will start licking. And that's absolutely amazing. And you can keep on doing that. And that's something that you can do. And it's even more special when you are the first person that's able to give your milk. Even in that small way, they might not be feeding, but you're wiping their lips with your milk. And that's pretty special to watch, even for us that have been working with babies for many, many years. So I hope that that covers your feeding. Cuddling again is or bathing. When it comes to those, it's whatever you do, just talk to your baby before you do it. It just helps them. We call it approach behaviors. It helps them not startle, not jump up, not be startled. And what all of it is about is being able to tune into your baby. And I say, don't look at the monitor. Of course, you're going to look at the monitor. That's normal. Don't let the monitor be your baby. Use the time that you have to actually see the baby that you have. And yes, they might be sick. And yes, they might be poorly. And yes, you may not know what the outcome will be, but you'll have that time. And if we spend all that time looking at the monitor, we won't have much to remember of this baby at that time. None of us are perfect, and it's very natural to look and see and want to know more. But the more you look at the monitor, the more your stress levels increase and you become anxious. Your baby's like, oh my God, the wall's broken out and mom's packing the bags and we're running. Whereas if you're walking, you might look at the monitor, that's normal. And then you come to me and you talk to me and divert yourself from the monitor and just make it about you and me. I feel safe. I feel much safer. So I hope you find that useful. I'm not quite sure where we are with the Q&A. Any other questions anyone would like to ask? I think, Kevin, can you think of anything? O'Hara?
I think you covered just almost everything. And I think your understanding of the NICU and your sympathy with the parents shone through. I think parents will feel very reassured of the way you spoke, Rita, and your understanding of the baby's communication cues. So articulate and helpful for parents who really want desperately, as you said, to try to understand this little baby as a person. And I thought you gave a beautiful portrait of how that process takes place. And you reassured parents that of the importance of these small gestures of understanding and communication, talking to, touching, holding, cuddling. It was just wonderful. Thank you so much, Rita. I appreciate just listening very, very much.
Thank you.
Parents must surely felt the same.
I hope, I really hope. When I read the pre-survey, I spoke to Hara and I read the pre-survey questions and it was very emotional for me. I worked with babies and families across these two countries for 25 years. I've worked with babies and families, what I call in a meaningful way. That's the Brazelton way. For the last 13 years, it's changed my life. It's changed the way I look at babies. It changes the way I communicate with families. And it's made my life richer. It definitely, I know it's helped the parents because I meet them with grown children now, and those moments they don't forget. So part of their dream of the sun picture to Dr. Brazelton was really to spread this way of working, because the parents in the UAE that I worked with are as receptive and feel it and get it as much as parents from Cambridge University. You know, it's just natural, it's organic, and it's the right thing to do. And it respects the baby, it respects the family. And yes, the science is important. And yes, we've got to get the blood gases right. And yes, we look at the x-rays, all that is vital towards that baby's survival. But we mustn't forget their mental health, nor the parents' mental health. And that's basically where I stand. Yeah, and I'm just so grateful that I've had the opportunity to work with people who work that way and think that way, and that I've been able to pass it on to families wherever I go. I'd like to show you my bear. This says, I'm a Brazelton baby. This is something that we brought out in the UK. I'm not sure how many we've got left, but after every assessment or observation, we would give the baby that little bear to carry. I'm a Brazelton bear. Yes. Okay, I think we're just about finished, Hara. Thank you all very much. It's been lovely to talk to you all. And I wish you well for you, your baby, and your families. And we out.